All right, guys, how to quit your addictions in 2025. This is going to be an important video because I think whenever the new year comes around, there's a new energy to it. And the whole New Year's resolution thing is a bit cliche. However, I do think there's something to be said about it and something to be said about really taking the opportunity to make big transformation in your life. Quitting addiction is no easy feat, as you guys know. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes willpower, it takes discipline. And a lot of things that are things that we haven't developed from our past, and that's maybe why we turn to addiction in the first place. We're at a stage, and I know a lot of you are at a stage where you're tired of your addiction. You're tired of wasting your life just repeating the same cycles over and over again. I know I was, for sure. When I made my big transformation and started to take addiction recovery seriously, I realized that, wow, like I'm wasting my life. I'm wasting all the precious time I have on this earth, just smoking stuff and drinking stuff and jacking stuff. So for me, I was like, okay, this needs to stop now, or else I'm going to look back on my life in disappointment and regret and shame. So what are some practical things you can do to quit your addiction in 2025? The first thing I'm going to recommend, and this one is a bit unorthodox, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it, is going to the sauna. Right? The guys that I've helped and coached through to quit addiction of whatever it might be have really found benefit from going to the sauna. It's something that I add to my treatment program for anybody who comes to me for one-on-one support. And the reason why sauna is so important is because a few things. One, it helps you detox a lot faster. If you've ever been to a sauna, you know after about 10, 20 minutes, you're just drenched in sweat. So that's all the booze or weed or whatever it might be in your system, sugar, just kind of salt exiting your body. Right? And this is going to help the withdrawal process, because otherwise it's going to come out, but it's going to come out on a lot slower pace, and it's going to be a lot more agonized. And so what I suggest people do is go to the sauna every day for at least the first 2 weeks to a month until they really get through the withdrawal period. And this is really going to help. But the second thing with the sauna is that it's going to really start training you how to handle discomfort. Quitting addiction, again, is no easy feat, and it can be quite painful. So the better you can get at absorbing pain, in a sense, and learning how to build that endurance, that emotional endurance, mental endurance, physical endurance, the easier the time you're going to have in quitting your addictions. So being in the sauna, you sit there, it's blazing hot, and you want to get out. Everything, every part of you wants to leave, but you stay. You stay there. You sit there. You embrace it. You feel it. And by the end of it, you feel really good, just basically from the fact that you didn't quit and that you stayed in the pocket. So number two, guys, and this is going to kind of play into the sauna, is start working out. Start being active, start being physical, start getting your body used to feeling physical discomfort, kind of like the sauna, but obviously in a more active sense. So the gym as well, it's really going to be a great place and a great haven for you to go to when you're craving and you're really struggling to stay sober, right? Releasing the natural endorphins that come from exercise is going to really help balance out maybe some of the depression and anxiety you're feeling from quitting your whatever the addiction might be. Exercise is a huge part of my life now. Whenever I exercise, I feel better. I've never regretted going to the gym. Let's just say that. There's been times I go in and I don't want to go in, but I always leave grateful that I made the decision to lift. And lifting obviously is my method of choice. And then I do cardio once or twice a week. So both these things have really helped me stay focused and stay mentally locked into my bigger vision in life. And also to get rid of some of that anxiety and anger that comes from just, day-to-day living, right? Things can be frustrating, things can be difficult. And this is something that you'll have to learn when you quit your addiction, is they call it living life on life's terms. You no longer have the substance to numb out with, so you have to kind of feel everything and all those little things that you might have been able to ignore because you just had your weed or you had your sugar or whatever the addiction is. Now you don't have that anymore, so you kind of have to face it emotionally head on, and this can be very difficult. It does get easier over time, right? But this is a great way to start living life on life's terms, is having something to feel good, basically. And so exercise is a great way to let some of that frustration and anger that you're going to experience being out in the real world in a healthy way, in a way that actually propels you forward and doesn't hurt other people. Because you're throwing the weights at people, which we don't recommend. Something about letting that aggression out in lifting weights is just so powerful. So I'd really recommend you guys get into the gym. And this is where it ties into number one, is because the saunas are usually at the gym. So I would recommend finding a gym that also has a sauna, because going to like straight up saunas can get kind of expensive. So finding a place where you get the 2-for-1 special basically is going to be really good. So that's number two. Number three is going to be dialing in that diet. This is something that I think everyone wants to do at the beginning of the New Year's anyway. So you might as well do it and reap the rewards along with everyone else. In terms of addiction recovery, though, this is really going to help with your addiction because it's going to get you back in a sense of just feeling good, of well-being. When we're eating shit, we feel like shit. When we're putting processed stuff into us, it gives us inflammation. It makes us irritable, right? What are we going to want to do? We're going to escape to something that can numb that pain. And now that we're not doing that anymore, right, we're going to experience a lot more well-being and emotional calmness. So eating plenty of vegetables, making sure you're eating lean protein, making sure you're staying away from the dairy and the carbs and the sugars and stuff. I think some carbs here and there are good, like rice or like whole wheat pasta, stuff like that, to supplement a little bit, because going keto is quite difficult and it's emotionally taxing. In terms of just like overall well-being, I would say stay away from the sugar, stay away from any of the processed stuff as best you can, and this is really going to help propel you into recovery as well, because when you feel good regularly, you don't need to go and escape to your addiction anymore. A lot of the reason why I went to my addiction is because I just felt crappy. And once I started eating healthy, actually the day I quit addiction, where I quit my marijuana and alcohol use, was the day I started eating. I just like went hard. I got a bunch of kale and arugula and spirulina, and I made a huge salad, and I put that down, and I started eating stuff like that every single day. And in turn, I just started to feel better naturally, right? It's very subtle. Like you won't notice it too much, but you will notice it a lot at the same time, if that makes sense. You won't get high like when you were smoking weed, but you will feel an overall better sense of calm and well-being. And because of that, it's like, well, I don't really need to use addiction anymore. I need to go to my vice because I'm feeling good. Like I have what I wanted with my addiction. Only the benefit is that I don't have to feel shit after with a withdrawal. And you don't obviously feel withdrawal after eating a salad. So there's a lot of benefits to eating healthy. It's going to help you in the gym as well if you're really into fitness. And I think fitness, a lot of people get sober, get into fitness because it's such a great escape, a great healthy escape. And it's something that you can do to work on bettering yourself over a prolonged period of time. So these two go hand in hand. The last thing I'm going to recommend for this video, and obviously there's thousands more, but you can go check out some of my other videos on the channel to get more insight into that. It's going to be to start getting out there and connecting with other people. There's actually a two-parter to this. So the first one is obviously connecting with other people. And this is really good because addiction obviously can be isolating, but sometimes we'll have our addiction friends. Getting sober can be isolating too, because we're kind of facing ourselves for the first time, maybe in a long time. And it can be tough to remember or even know how to relate now to other people in a sober sense. So this one might take some more time for you guys, but I would recommend getting some sort of support, getting into some sort of community, some support group, and really working on developing relationships with other people who are in addiction recovery as well. Because they're just gonna be there for you, and you're just gonna realize that, okay, if all my other friends now are sober and they're, staying clean and working on themselves, as people, we want to fit into our tribe, right? We want to belong with the people we're surrounded ourselves with. So obviously it's going to motivate us to want to stay sober too. It's like, hey, I'm not going to be the guy here in this group that is the total degenerate and everyone else is taking really good care of themselves. No, I'm going to step up to the bar and step up to the challenge too. And this is where a lot of growth can be made. Again, very minor, like you won't even, like it's not like it's very subtle, but it makes a huge impact. So the second thing, and this is kind of a paradox here, is going to be learning how to be with yourself, right? So you want to balance these two out. I think for a lot of my time, I spent too much by myself, and this kind of, it was really hard to get back into relationships again. So now looking back, I would have preferred to have a more even balance of it, as I spent a lot of time with myself, which was important by all means. So I think really learning how to spend time alone, basically learning how to sit with your own thoughts and get to know yourself on that intimate level. With no distractions, with no other people. Doing this over time, again, it's going to make you more connected with yourself, and it's going to give you more agency to make decisions for yourself in your life. I know for myself that because I didn't know myself too well, I was always like saying yes to things. Like I just wanted to escape myself because I didn't know who I was, and I was kind of afraid of myself, to be honest. So now after about 8.5 years, I've better understood who I am and how I operate, how I think, how my emotions work. And because of that, I'm more comfortable being alone. And I don't need people all the time. I do really appreciate when I do get together with friends and stuff, but I don't need it. I'm not desperate for it anymore. And that's been a huge growth and a huge change for myself. And encourages me to stay on this path, because I know that if I go back to substances, I'm going to lose that connection with myself. I'm going to lose that ability to be with myself and to enjoy my own company, because I'm going to be chasing the pleasure of whatever the addiction is. So guys, comment down below if you can relate to any of these, and if you are willing to try some of these out in the new year. If you have any other things that I didn't mention that have been big supports for you in your addiction recovery. Again, this is a new year, and this is a great opportunity to really nip it in the bud, pun intended. And so I really encourage you to take heed of this video and put these steps into action, because by 2026, you could have a completely different life, completely new relationships, completely new relationship with yourself, new freedom, new joy, new happiness, new calmness, less anxiety, right? All those things that we want and that we sought out through our addiction. We can get that naturally if we're willing to put in a little bit of the work. So guys, as always, you can email me at joel@sobrietyuniversity.com for one-on-one support. Check out some of the other videos on this channel to help you with your addiction recovery journey. And here's to a great and sober 2025. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.